Lord, I thank you for sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain.
And if they'd had enough sense to open a book and study history, they wouldn't be going out here and voting these Democrat tickets because the Klan was founded by Democrats.
Bitch, you think it's small. We need to be thinking big. You need to be thinking big, bitch. You need to be thinking big, bitch. Think big, bitch.
He was so cool.
He what?
He looked so cool.
This man, lame man, nigga, pick up the phone.
An inmate at the county correctional facility.
I said what I said. I'll be fine all by myself. The sound of that phrase should ring in our ears to this day. Thus, the age of the millennials were here. The latchkey kids were on the prowl, and babies of the war had the country all to themselves. The 1970s would turn America upside down, and the powers that be didn't like it. Women would start working, rising to the top of their fields. The progression should be celebrated. Before in the world, women didn't have the same opportunities, but now they could run in front, unlike most times in history. Beautiful to say the least. Feminism's birth was a good thing, but like anything else, too much is bad. Life should be more equal. Men are not the only ones with skills. These ideals were like an overflowing cup tumbling into men's worthlessness. Murphy's Law states what can happen wrong will happen wrong. Unintended consequences can make a real-time problem. Nevertheless, things will push forward, regardless if you're ready or not. With the newfound tasks women acquire, they also gain problems they might not have been able to handle out of lack of experience. Majority of the African descendants of slavery at this point in time will become fatherless, creating a wave of different mindsets, forever changing the direction of our culture. But what if I told you it was all because of one phrase? Let's look into the method of madness of why I said what I said. I'll be fine by myself.
You are now tuned in to Method Madness.
Culture for sale.
We would never want to point the finger, and this is not the point the finger video. And if you don't watch it to the end, you will misinterpret.
You implied that.
I said what I said.
Okay, well, what you
Okay?
said was some bullshit.
But
That's
you don't
what
like it. You don't like it.
I sure damn don't like it.
Well, then, what you want me to do? Okay, you
oh,
don't
no,
like it.
you ain't gotta
express
do
your
nothing.
feelings.
You
so
ain't
you
gotta
don't
do
like
nothing.
it.
All I'm just
okay?
saying to
you
you
don't
is,
like it. What else?
don't
what else?
expect no
What
respect.
else? Well, I don't have to have any. What else?
There was a time long ago when a bag of chips were 25 cents and gas was $1. You could rent a 3-bedroom house for $1,200 or less. And to be honest, it seemed like people were able to get about the same rate of money as today. Jobs were plentiful. If there was a building, they were hiring. Kmart was the thing. For all those that are not old enough to know, it was a place just like Walmart, but cheaper, somehow. Love was in the air, and the millennials were conceived at this time, and we came with a bang. Introduction, internet. Little did everyone know on the streets, in the back room, computers were being modified for everyday homes. You see, this is a key feature in what happened at this time because it made trade so much quicker, throwing tons of cash into the economy, giving birth to desk junkies and office filler jobs. And these jobs would be mostly filled by women. A lot of the economic growth of the 1970s to the 1990s was in building and coding, nursing, and organizational skills and services, making men that don't make money unnecessary. In the new world that only worships money, Black people doubled down on the love of money culture. Of course, no more than any other culture, but our numbers might not be able to take the same losses. I make this point about money because it correlates with the percentage of single Black homes. As of late, we have been moving towards improvement, I should add. At the same time, the men would find a way to be stupid for the most part. Gangster rap had took a foothold in the community by the time the 90s had came around. Being tough became business. Picture a bunch of fools in too big clothes and jerseys riding around shooting each other while everyone else was making money. Because some made up ghost that says you can't do anything. Granted, things were tough. Racism was a real thing. I get it. But you can be the only change in yourself at the end of the day. There's not enough time in life to change every person that doesn't want it. But with the proper information, anything is possible, which I'm sure more people see nowadays. But anyways, they were tough shit, so they unwittingly lubricated the downfall of our community, or at least stalled it for a few years. Black women said what they said, and they'll be just fine. The men had no limit, and all of them ended up in the dog pound over an 8-ball and Bone Thugs and Harmony. The stank on you wasn't the best. They was all just bad boys, and at the end of the day, rough riders. I swear it ain't mystical. Everyone was gaining so-called independence.
Fear that what started out as music to inform has turned into music that incites. Our agenda reporter is Carol Simpson.
Little brother's worried and big brother's scary, cause in 3 days' time someone's gonna be buried.
Every Friday and Saturday night, aspiring young rappers gather at a record store at Hollywood and Vine.
Somebody tell me, how can hell be underground when it's right where the black man's found?
Their rhyming lyrics to a thundering beat are angry, violent, and profane.
People want to see reality. They want to see what's really going on. This is the youth. This is the young black youth that's been put through hell, you know what I'm saying? And they have to express themselves.
Among these young men's heroes are so-called gangster rappers who have recently been arrested and charged with crimes.
Bow, wow, wow.
You are now tuned in to Method Madness.
What you trying to get?
Drop the beat. So slavery was Jim Crow 2.0. The nation was fighting the newfound enemy, communism, which was basically a workers' revolution. Slave descendants and people that worked with their hands. The same people that were the working class in the 1960s to the 1980s. And the U.S. was paranoid that the workers would revolt. World War II just happened, so I kind of understand why they would try to extinguish communism with so much determination. In the same breath, I don't understand, because we are the people. We're the ones trying to fight tyranny. The logic of the government is crazy. Things were at a boiling point. Nevertheless, the U.S. would use all tools to stop the uprising of the people, and the leaders of the black community would be demonized and killed one by one for it. All to kill the will of the people. Being the community was organizing properly and was gaining steam. We were learning how to set up our own efficient government, and we were doing great at it. It was only a matter of time till these people would have ruled the nation if they kept the same energy, and not in a bad way. Something had to be done in the eyes of the ruling race of the nation, so they started a plan with the aid of the Nazi refugees that no one wants to talk about. They had to act on the mind. They had to offer something everyone would go for. Aggression was a control tactic of the past. Psychology was the new thing. So they put together a 3-part plan, and it would work surprisingly well. They had a trick up their sleeve, the Uno reverse.
Of a group of white girls who are sitting at their graduation engaged. And the question came up, well, why is there not the reality for black women? I know y'all not gonna like what I gotta say, but you know me, I'm gonna say it anyways. First and foremost, black women are above reproach. If it don't validate us or excuse our bad behavior, we don't want to hear it. Instead, we'll say, well, men do it too. Secondly, we'll find every excuse in the world to validate why we don't want to be married or why we don't want to be in a relationship. Well, they get cheated on. Well, they do this. Well, they do that. But then we have all these standards for men, and we're still actively seeking for men in the midst of our hurt while inadvertently telling them to go to therapy. We do not practice what we preach. Thirdly, the independent woman is a myth. Actually cared about being independent and it was something that made you happy, you would not have all these standards to negate your independence. Nobody wants to relinquish power. We'll find every excuse in the world to not be submissive and wonder why white women can get away with their bad behavior. We take everything bad from white women, except for the fact using marriage to our own benefit. But you'll run to the child support office, though. Argue equality against men, and the only time we actually want to be equal to men is when it comes to degenerate behavior, hypersexuality, abusing or abandoning children. Even when it comes to the gold digger conversation, what you don't see those other women do, even when they are just screwing men for money, is bashing men, inadvertently making men feel like they're not important. Also, too, telling them that they don't need men. Psychologically, we have been taught to disassociate ourselves, and even in that Malcolm X quote where he says the black woman is the most disrespected, he also says to be near your man. Because who taught you to hate the very race that you're supposed to be with?
Listen, Can we just give this woman a round of applause?
This is how it went down. First, they had to break the group, and the best way to do that was from within. They needed some way to infiltrate each home, and conveniently, there was a thing called the TV and the radio, giving them access to the minds, providing the portal needed to stir up shit inside the community. The rapidly growing understanding of how to organize was too pretentious to allow to keep going. The US government needed to act fast. From their perspective, if communism gained control of the black movement, it would mean the end of the US as they know it. Incoming gangster rap, the first part of the plan to disarm the black community's rise in the nation. Through the airwaves, they influenced the entire group of young men to use their newfound confidence on how to organize in a negative manner. The Crips and Bloods were made for protection from the police and white racists. It wasn't intended for what it is today, all because the government wanted to diminish the ability of the black community to organize. There's only strength in numbers, moving in one direction. They couldn't allow us to see this and actualize this fact. The Uno reverse was coming. They did this to make sure feminism was interpreted the wrong way. Women deserve rights like everyone else. They made this move to make women double down on the fact that men ain't shit and don't care about women, being that men were distracted by playing football with drugs and acting gangster. Women had no choice but to do what was best and cut ties with the men. At the same time, this would make men think women are trying to take their place. They pictured women would leave them because the man held them down. And that's exactly what happened. The only difference was, it was through the lens that men were giving up and distracted by the devil's candy and lies of riches with quickness. And the women took it overboard with all the newfound power, and they acted too quickly on things that needed more discernment. With all fairness, the quick wealth seemed to be owed to our people, and women were historically oppressed. The bait was easy to take, like a rat with cheese. They only needed to play one last card, and then, well, I'm sure you know what happened. Something bad. The last card was cutting the lines of communication, making it so difficult for the people to hear each other that they would self-destruct. Welfare provided the perfect cover, the lubricant that would act like earmuffs. Black men could no longer hear black women, and vice versa. Music was love, but slowly turned into nothing but hate, to the point now that we don't have any R&B artists like before. Providing proof to my claim, we hardly love each other. Not to mention that the kids are born out of wedlock and the lack of marriages. Their plan was complete: infiltrate and destroy. Okay. Don't put your head down. I know, that was a tough topic. But we have to talk, because strategy is the only thing that will save us. That plan was good, and I have to admit, I wouldn't and couldn't fully say I wouldn't do it myself. But who knows what we would do until the time presents itself. Overall, we just need to work together and find a way to make our families whole again. I have faith in everyone, and I truly believe we will get our act together, and that goes for everybody. But the simple truth that will lead us to greatness is that we need each other, and organized properly, there's nothing that can stop us. Jeremiah 54:17. No weapon formed against us shall prosper.